If you think your silence is what hurts her the most, you may be misunderstanding the real power you hold. Folks, most men believe no contact is the ultimate move. They stop texting, they stop calling, they stop watching her stories. On the outside, they look disciplined, but inside they are still waiting. They are still checking the phone, still hoping she feels their absence, still wondering if today is the day she finally realizes what she lost. My friend, that is not freedom. That is attachment wearing a quiet mask. Because the truth is, silence can still be a reaction. If your silence is fueled by pain, resentment, or the hidden hope that she comes running back, she still owns space inside your nervous system. You may not be speaking to her, but you are still moving around her. There is something stronger than no contact: emotional self-containment, the kind of calm where you stop monitoring her behavior, stop performing growth, stop trying to be understood, and finally return your energy to your own life. In this video, you will learn why silence alone is not enough, why emotional access matters more than messages, why standards hit harder than distance, and why a man who becomes truly unaffected is far harder to forget than a man who simply disappears. If you are ready to stop reacting and start becoming internally free, starting today, not someday anymore, subscribe to the channel and stay with me. Let's get into it. Number 1. Silence is still a reaction. Folks, silence looks powerful from the outside. No texts, no calls, no explanations, no chasing. It looks like control. But let me be clear, silence is not always strength. Sometimes silence is just pain trying to look disciplined. This is where most men fool themselves. They stop speaking to her, but they do not stop moving around her emotionally. They still check the phone. They still wonder if she noticed. They still imagine what she is thinking. They still hope their absence is making her uncomfortable. My friend, if your silence is secretly waiting for her reaction, you are not free. You are just quiet. Think about Richard, 56, from Phoenix. He had been seeing Carol, 51, for almost 7 months. Things were warm at first. Dinner dates, long talks, weekend drives, real chemistry. Then Carol started pulling back. Shorter replies, less affection, more distance. Richard decided he would go no contact. He told himself, I will not chase. I will let her feel my absence. On the surface, Richard looked strong. He did not text her. He did not call. He did not ask mutual friends about her. But every night he sat in his living room with the television on and his mind somewhere else. He checked the time. He checked his phone. He wondered if Carol was missing him. He imagined her picking up her phone, typing his name, then stopping herself. His mouth was silent, but his nervous system was still wrapped around her. That is the trap. Silence can still be a reaction when it comes from hurt, resentment, or hidden hope. You may not be reaching out, but your inner world is still reaching. You may not be begging with words, but you are begging with expectation. And a woman can often feel that heaviness even if she cannot explain it. Your silence does not feel calm. It feels charged. It feels like a power struggle. Real strength is different. Real strength is not, I will ignore her so she feels it. Real strength is, I no longer need to move in response to her. That is the shift. One man is trying to provoke a reaction. The other man is returning to himself. If Richard truly wants power, he has to stop making Carol the center of his quiet. He has to stop measuring the silence. He has to stop treating every day without her message like evidence that he is winning or losing. He has to take the energy he is spending on her possible thoughts and bring it back into his own life, his health, his work, his friendships, his peace, his future. This does not mean he stops caring overnight. Mature men feel deeply. They miss people. They remember. They grieve. But they do not build a shrine to someone's absence and call it discipline. They feel the ache, then they choose direction. That is emotional sovereignty. So ask yourself honestly, is your silence clean or is it loaded? Are you peaceful or are you performing peace? Are you stepping back because you value your life, or because you want her to finally value you. No contact may stop your hands from reaching out, but emotional discipline stops your mind from crawling back. That is what hurts more than silence. Not your disappearance, but the moment she can no longer feel you waiting behind it. That is the difference between a man who is hiding from pain and a man who has finally stopped obeying it completely. If this speaks to you, write this in the comments. I stop reacting. Stick with me, because the next part shows how to stop moving your whole life around her without even realizing it. Number 2. Stop moving around her. Folks, one of the hardest truths a man can face is this. You can be silent and still be orbiting her. You can stop texting, stop calling, stop explaining, and still organize your entire inner world around what she might think, feel, or do next. That is not freedom, my friend. That is emotional dependence with better manners. Let's cut through the noise. Most men believe they are detached because their phone is quiet, but inside everything is still moving around her. Their mood rises when they imagine she misses them. Their confidence drops when they think she has moved on. Their focus disappears when she posts something vague. Their peace depends on a woman who may not even know she is still controlling the room inside their mind. This is the difference between physical distance and emotional sovereignty. Physical distance says I am not near you. Emotional sovereignty says my life no longer bends around your uncertainty. That second one is what changes everything. Epictetus said, "Make the best use of what is in your power, and take the rest as it happens." That line is not soft. It is a command. Her choices are not in your power. Her timing is not in your power. Her clarity is not in your power. Her regret is not in your power. What is in your power is whether you keep building your day around her invisible presence. When a man keeps moving around her, he does small things that seem harmless. He chooses a restaurant hoping she might see him there. He posts a photo hoping it sends a message. He waits before replying to other people because his mind is still waiting for her. He changes his schedule, his mood, even his confidence based on a connection that is no longer giving him peace. That is how subtle this trap is. You may look calm, but your life is still taking instructions from her absence. Stoicism asks you to stop outsourcing your center, not because you are cold, not because you never cared, but because a man cannot become stable while his emotional compass is pointed at someone who is inconsistent. You cannot lead yourself if your first question every morning is, "What is she doing?" A stronger question is, "What am I responsible for today?" That question brings you back to the ground, your body, your work, your home, your friendships, your discipline, your sleep, your future. These are not boring things. These are the pillars of a man who cannot be moved easily. When you return to them, you stop feeding the story that she is the sun and you are just a planet circling her warmth. Listen closely. Emotional detachment is not hatred. It is not bitterness. It is not pretending she meant nothing. It is the decision to stop treating her emotional state as your assignment. If she is confused, let her be confused. If she is distant, let distance speak. If she is uncertain, do not turn yourself into a solution for uncertainty you did not create. The man who stops moving around her becomes difficult to predict, not because he is playing games, but because he is finally self-directed. He does not act to influence her reaction, he acts according to his standards. He does not grow so she can notice. He grows because his life demands his attention now. That is what unsettles more than silence. Not that you disappeared, but that your world kept expanding without asking for her permission. If this is the shift you are choosing, write this in the comments. I choose center. Stay tuned, because the next part shows why cutting off emotional access hits deeper than simply refusing to send a message. Number 3. Cut off emotional access. Folks, a woman does not only notice when you stop texting, she notices when she can no longer feel your emotional door standing open. That is the deeper move. Not silence, not distance, emotional access. And when you cut that off peacefully, without anger, without drama, without trying to punish her, the entire dynamic changes. Let's be honest, many men think they have walked away because they are no longer sending messages, but emotionally they are still available. She could return tomorrow with one soft word, and their whole body would open like nothing happened. She could like a photo, send a small text, or ask how they are doing, and suddenly all the standards disappear. That means she still has access, not to your phone maybe, but to your nervous system. Think about Thomas, 58, from Nashville. He had been seeing Denise, 52, for almost a year. Denise was warm when she wanted closeness, distant when she wanted space, and unclear whenever Thomas asked where things were going. After one more stretch of mixed signals, Thomas stopped texting, but inside he kept the door wide open. He imagined Denise coming back. He rehearsed what he would say. He even kept weekends open, just in case she reached out. Denise may not have known every detail, but the energy was there. Thomas was absent in words, but still emotionally reachable. That gave Denise comfort. She could drift away and still feel somewhere underneath that Thomas was waiting. That is why silence alone did not shift anything. Now imagine a different Thomas. He does not block her out of bitterness. He does not post quotes about loyalty. He does not act cold to look powerful. He simply closes the emotional door with dignity. He stops saving space for a woman who will not choose clarity. He stops rehearsing conversations that may never happen. He starts filling his weekends with friends, work, training, and peace. If Denise returns, she no longer meets a man waiting at the same doorway. She meets a man who has moved his life forward. That is emotional access being cut off. It is not cruelty. It is self-respect. It says you no longer get the benefits of my emotional availability while giving me confusion in return. You no longer get silent loyalty from a man you are not choosing with consistency. You no longer get to feel that I am still yours in the background. My friend, this is what hurts more than silence. Silence can mean I am wounded. Emotional closure means I am no longer waiting. Silence can be broken with one message. Emotional self-containment cannot be broken by a little attention. That is why it carries weight. And understand this. Cutting off access does not mean you become bitter. Bitterness is still attachment. Anger is still a rope. Revenge is still proof that she lives rent-free in your head. Real detachment is calm. It does not announce itself. It does not need applause. It simply removes emotional privileges from people who no longer meet your standards. So ask yourself, does she still have access to your mood, your focus, your weekends, your imagination, your hope? If the answer is yes, then the work is not finished. You may be quiet, but you are still reachable. Cut off emotional access by returning ownership of your inner world to yourself. That is when your absence becomes real, clean, steady, and impossible to mistake for waiting. If this speaks to you, write this in the comments. I close access. Let's keep going, because the next part shows why trying to be understood keeps you chained to someone who may never choose clarity. Number 4. Stop trying to be understood. Folks, one of the quietest chains a man can carry is the need to be understood by a woman who has already shown confusion, distance, or inconsistency. You replay the conversation. You think of what you should have said. You imagine explaining your heart one more time, just so she finally sees your intention clearly. But my friend, that hunger to be understood can keep you trapped longer than any text message ever could. Let's be honest, most men do not only miss her, they miss the chance to correct the story in her mind. They want her to know they were sincere. They want her to see the effort. They want her to understand that the silence, the distance, the disappointment, all of it hurt them deeply. But when you keep needing her to understand you, you are still placing her perception above your own peace. Marcus Aurelius said you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Her interpretation of you is an outside event. Her willingness to understand is an outside event. Her emotional maturity, her timing, her clarity, her ability to admit what she lost, None of that belongs to your control. What belongs to you is the decision to stop burning your life trying to be seen by someone who keeps looking away. This is where Stoicism becomes real. A Stoic man does not keep arguing his value in an empty room. He does not rehearse speeches for someone who is no longer listening with care. He does not spend his nights crafting the perfect explanation, hoping the right words will finally unlock her compassion. He accepts that some people will misunderstand him, and he survives it without shrinking. That does not mean you become cold. It means you stop begging reality to make her fair. Maybe she misunderstood you. Maybe she simplified you. Maybe she remembers only the parts that justify her distance. Lit here. A man destroys his own center when he tries to manage another person's inner narrative. He keeps feeding a courtroom that exists only in his head, hoping she will walk in, hear the evidence, and finally declare him innocent. If you want deeper lessons like this, lessons on emotional sovereignty, self-respect, and becoming grounded beyond the need for validation, consider joining this channel as a member. Your support keeps this work alive and helps build a serious community of men who are choosing discipline over reaction. Now listen closely. The moment you release the need to be understood, your energy comes back. You stop performing pain. You stop posting hidden messages. You stop imagining what she would think if she saw you improving. You stop shaping your growth around her possible reaction. Instead, you begin moving from alignment. You make decisions because they protect your future, not because they might change her opinion. That shift is powerful because it removes her from the judge's seat. She no longer decides whether your effort mattered. She no longer decides whether your love was real. She no longer decides whether you are worthy of peace. You decide that by how you live, how you respond, and how firmly you return to yourself. That is where a man stops explaining and starts standing in his own authority again. Stop trying to be understood by someone who may never choose clarity. Let your character explain you over time, and let silence cover what words no longer need to defend. If this is the freedom you are choosing, write this in the comments. I stop explaining. Don't go anywhere, because the next part shows why performing growth keeps you attached, while real growth makes you unreachable. Number 5. Stop performing growth. Folks, there is a difference between becoming better and trying to be seen becoming better. One is growth. The other is performance. And if your improvement still needs her eyes on it, you are not free yet. You are still asking the woman who hurt you to validate the man you are becoming. Let's be honest. A lot of men go silent, then immediately start staging their transformation. New gym photos, cryptic quotes, pictures with friends meant to look casual but posted with one secret hope. Maybe she will see this. Maybe she will wonder. Maybe she will feel what she lost. My friend, that is not evolution. That is still orbiting her, just with better lighting. Think about Gary, 57, from Tampa. After things ended with Lisa, 52, Gary decided he was done chasing. He joined a gym, started eating better, bought new clothes, and began going out more. From the outside, it looked like real progress. But every post he made was aimed at Lisa. Every workout picture was chosen with her in mind. Every night out was uploaded hoping she would feel replaced. Gary was not building a life. He was building a message. And here is the hard part. Lisa could feel it. Maybe not in every detail, but she could feel the tension behind the performance. It did not say, "I have moved on." It said, "Please notice that I am trying to look like I moved on." That kind of growth has no weight because it still depends on her reaction. Now imagine Gary making a different choice. He still goes to the gym, but he stops posting every session. He still dresses better, but not for revenge. He still reconnects with friends, but not to create jealousy. He rebuilds because he is tired of living below his own standard. He trains because his body matters. He works harder because his future matters. He creates peace because his nervous system deserves rest. That is real growth. Quiet, consistent, unannounced. The file makes this point clearly. Stop performing growth. Simply grow. Stop imagining what she might think if she saw you thriving. Stop crafting subtle messages through your life. Stop turning your healing into a stage where she remains the audience. When you do that, you are still giving her emotional access. You are still letting her perception shape your direction. A grounded man does not improve to prove. He improves because he finally respects himself enough to stop staying the same. That is the difference. When growth is real, it does not need applause. It shows up in your posture, your habits, your patience, your sleep, your decisions, and the way you stop reacting to mixed signals. And here is what makes it powerful. Real growth changes your energy without you announcing it. You become calmer. You speak slower. You stop trying to explain yourself. You stop needing people to know how much you are changing. You no longer chase recognition because you are living in alignment. If Lisa ever crosses paths with Gary again, she may notice something different, not because he performed it for her, because it became true. He is not louder. He is not bitter. He is not trying to win. He is simply less reachable by the old version of pain. So, stop performing growth. Do the work when nobody is watching, especially when nobody is watching. That is where the new man is built, without asking her memory for permission to become whole again. If this is the standard you are choosing, write this in the comments. I grow quietly. Stay with me because the next part shows how reclaiming your attention gives you back the life she once occupied. Number 6. Reclaim your attention. Folks, attention is not a small thing. Attention is life energy. Wherever your attention goes, your mind follows, your mood follows, your body follows, and eventually your future follows. That is why reclaiming your attention is one of the strongest moves a man can make after silence. Let's be clear. When you keep thinking about what she is doing, you are spending your life on someone who is not present. When you keep checking whether she watched your story, whether she changed her photo, whether she posted something that might be aimed at you, you are not detached. You are donating your focus to uncertainty. And uncertainty is expensive. Seneca said no man was ever wise by chance. Wisdom requires direction. It requires choosing where your mind is allowed to live. A man who lets his attention be dragged everywhere becomes weak, scattered, and easy to disturb. A man who guards his attention becomes steady, sharp, and difficult to manipulate. The file makes this point deeply. Attention is a form of energy. When you withdraw attention without resentment, you are not punishing her. You are reallocating. You are taking the energy that used to go into wondering, checking, replaying, and hoping, and you are placing it back into your health, your work, your friendships, your routines, your future. That is not cold. That is responsible. Let's cut through the noise. Many men say they cannot stop thinking about her. But what they really mean is that they have trained their mind to keep returning to the same emotional wound. Every quiet moment becomes her. Every slow evening becomes memory. Every notification becomes possibility. That is not love anymore, my friend. That is mental captivity. Reclaiming your attention starts with small commands. You stop checking her page. You stop rereading old messages. You stop driving past places that reopen the wound. You stop feeding conversations in your head where you finally say the perfect thing. You stop giving your nervous system reasons to stay attached. Then you redirect. Not dramatically, consistently. You put attention into your body. You train. You walk. You eat like a man who respects himself. You put attention into your work. You finish what you have delayed. You put attention into your home. You clean the room where you used to sit and suffer. You put attention into people who still show up for you. That is how a life expands again. A Stoic man understands that focus is ownership. If she owns your attention, she still owns part of your life. If every decision is secretly measured against her possible reaction, you are not moving freely. But when your attention comes home, your power comes home with it. And here is the truth. The moment you stop feeding her image with your focus, she begins to shrink back to human size. Not a goddess, not the prize, not the center of your story, just a woman. a chapter. A lesson may be important, but not everything. The fantasy loses oxygen when your attention stops feeding it. Your mind clears, your breath slows, and the future starts looking bigger than the past. Again, even when no one is watching. That is the quiet victory most men never reach. Reclaim your attention, and you reclaim the room inside your own head. That room is sacred. Do not rent it to someone who gives you confusion in return. Fill it with discipline, direction, peace, and the kind of purpose that makes your life feel like yours again. If this is the discipline you are choosing, write this in the comments. I reclaim focus. Stay tuned, because the next part shows why idealizing her keeps you blind to the man you are supposed to become. Number 7. Stop idealizing her. Folks, idealizing her is one of the quiet ways you keep yourself trapped. You do not call it worship. You call it love. You call it loyalty. You call it remembering the good times. But if you are only replaying her best moments and ignoring the confusion, distance, mixed signals, and emotional cost, then you are not seeing her clearly. You are protecting a fantasy. Let's be honest. A man in pain becomes a dangerous editor. He cuts out the cold replies. He cuts out the nights he felt anxious. He cuts out the times she made him question his value. Then he keeps the soft smile, the warm voice, the good kiss, the one weekend that felt perfect. And suddenly she becomes larger than life. Not because she was perfect, but because his memory made her perfect. Think about Anthony, 55, from Portland. He was involved with Marissa, 49, for almost a year. Marissa could be warm, magnetic, and deeply affectionate when she wanted closeness. But she could also pull away without explanation. She gave Anthony just enough hope to keep him invested, then enough distance to keep him unsure. When it ended, Anthony did not remember the anxiety first. He remembered the way she laughed in his kitchen on a rainy Sunday. He remembered her hand on his shoulder. He remembered the way she looked at him when things were good. So every time he tried to move forward, his mind dragged him back to the highlight reel. My friend, that is how idealization works. It does not show you the whole woman. It shows you the emotional peak and tells you that was the truth. But maturity requires you to see the whole pattern, not just the moment that made you feel alive. The file makes this point clearly. When your life expands, your perspective expands. The emotional intensity that once felt like your entire world starts becoming a chapter, not the whole book. That is what Anthony had to learn. He did not need to hate Marissa. He did not need to call her bad. He simply needed to stop making her the center of his inner universe. He started rebuilding the rest of his life. He joined a hiking group. He reconnected with his brother. He took better care of his health. He stopped listening to songs that reopened the wound every night. Slowly, Marissa became human again. Not a goddess. Not the one who got away. Not the only woman who could ever make him feel. Just a woman he cared about, but also a woman who did not bring the consistency his peace required. That is the truth you need to face. Idealizing her keeps you blind to yourself. You spend so much time thinking about what made her special that you forget what made you disappear. You forget how much you bent, how much you waited, how much you tolerated, how often you called anxiety chemistry because you were afraid to admit the connection was unstable. A grounded man does not build a shrine to someone who could not meet him with clarity. He takes the lesson. He honors what was real. Then he releases the fantasy. That is emotional self-containment. Not bitterness, not denial, clear seeing. Stop idealizing her, and you will start seeing yourself again. You will see the standards you abandoned, the routines you neglected, the peace you traded for uncertainty. And once you see that, you cannot go back to worshipping a memory that cost you your center. If this truth hits you, write this in the comments. I see clearly. Let's keep going, because the next part shows why standards hit harder than silence when a man finally stops accepting temporary affection without consistency. Number 8. Standards hurt more than silence. Folks, silence can get attention, but standards change the entire relationship. Silence says, I am not speaking right now. Standards say, you no longer get access to me unless your actions match what I require. That is a much heavier message. Let's be clear. A woman may wonder why you stopped texting. She may notice that you disappeared. She may feel the space where your attention used to be. But silence alone can still look temporary. It can look like a mood, a strategy, or a wounded man trying to protect his pride. Standards feel different. Standards feel permanent because they are not based on anger. They are based on self-respect. Marcus Aurelius said the soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. If your thoughts are still shaped by the fear of losing her, your standards will collapse the moment she gives you a little warmth. One kind message, one old memory, one soft apology, and suddenly you are back where you started. But if your thoughts are shaped by dignity, discipline, and self-command, you stop being impressed by temporary affection. This is where most men lose themselves. They confuse chemistry with consistency. A woman can give you a beautiful moment and still be wrong for your peace. She can kiss you like she means it and still leave you uncertain. She can say the right words and still repeat the same pattern. Chemistry is easy, my friend. Consistency requires character. The file makes this point deeply. Access to you must be earned through consistency, not chemistry alone. That sentence matters. A mature man does not give full emotional access just because the connection feels intense. He watches patterns. He listens to actions. He notices whether her behavior brings peace or anxiety, respect or confusion, clarity or mixed signals. Let's cut through the noise. If she gives you affection only when she feels like losing you, that is not stability. If she becomes warm only when you pull away, that is not love. If she offers just enough attention to keep you attached, but not enough clarity to make you secure, then your standard has to speak louder than your longing. And this is what hurts more than silence. When you stop negotiating, when you stop explaining what basic respect should look like, when you stop accepting little bursts of closeness as payment for long seasons of confusion, she may be used to a version of you who waited, forgave too quickly, and reopened the door with very little evidence of change. But standards end that version. A Stoic man does not need to punish, he observes. He does not need to threaten, he decides. He does not need to say, you will regret this. He simply removes himself from what does not align. That kind of calm standard is powerful because it cannot be argued with. You are not asking her to become clear. You are choosing clarity for yourself. Standards also protect you from your own weakness, because sometimes the real danger is not her behavior. It is your willingness to accept less when you miss her. That is why you must know your standards before nostalgia hits. You must decide what kind of communication you accept, what kind of respect you require, what kind of consistency a woman must show before she receives your full attention again. Silence may make her wonder where you went. Standards make her realize she cannot return to the same place unless she comes differently. That is the deeper power, not distance, not drama, not a cold performance. Just a man who finally understands that his peace is not a bargaining chip. If this is the standard you are choosing, write this in the comments. I require consistency. Stay with me because the next part shows why a calm man cannot be controlled once his nervous system is no longer hooked by mixed signals. Number 9. Calm cannot be controlled. Folks, a calm man is hard to control because he does not hand people the remote to his nervous system. He is not easy to provoke. He is not easy to pull back into old patterns. He is not sitting there waiting for a message, a mood, a soft apology, or a little attention to decide whether he gets to feel steady today. Let's be honest. Most men do not realize how much they are being controlled by emotional noise. A delayed text changes their whole evening. A cold reply ruins their sleep. A social media post sends them into detective mode. One warm message makes them hopeful again, and one quiet day makes them feel abandoned. That is not love, my friend. That is being emotionally leveraged. Think about Walter, 58, from Minneapolis. He had been involved with Renee, 52, for almost a year. Renee had a pattern. When Walter pulled back, she became warm. When he leaned in, she became distant. When he asked for clarity, she gave soft words, but no real change. For months, Walter's nervous system lived on that roller coaster. If Renee texted with affection, he felt strong. If she went quiet, he felt small. She did not need to control him directly. His reactions did the work for her. Then something shifted. Walter stopped trying to decode her. He stopped checking for signs. He stopped treating every mixed signal like a puzzle he had to solve. He began focusing on his body, his business, his friends, and his sleep. He still cared, but he stopped allowing care to become chaos. Slowly, Renee's inconsistency lost its grip. That is what the file points to when it says, calm men cannot be emotionally leveraged. When your body is no longer hooked by mixed signals, someone else's inconsistency loses its power. You can see the pattern without being dragged into it. You can receive a message without building a fantasy. You can hear an apology without forgetting the history. You can feel attraction without abandoning your standards. This is not coldness. Cold men shut down because they are afraid to feel. Calm men feel, but they do not surrender command. That difference matters. Walter did not become bitter. He became anchored. When Renee reached out after weeks of silence, he did not jump. He read the message, breathed, and asked himself a better question. Does this show consistency, or is this just another wave in the same old pattern? That question is power. A man who is calm cannot be rushed into forgiveness. He cannot be baited by jealousy. He cannot be moved by temporary affection. He cannot be destabilized by distance. Not because he has no heart, but because his heart is no longer running the entire operation without discipline. And here is where the real reward shows up. Your sleep improves, your thoughts slow down, your focus returns. You stop living in the constant what if. Your body finally believes that it does not need her clarity to feel safe. That internal calm becomes visible. You walk differently. You speak more deliberately. You no longer scan the room for validation. You are not trying to look mysterious. You are simply self-contained. That unsettles people more than silence, because it tells them they can no longer pull you back with the same old strings. If they want access, they must meet the standard. If they bring confusion, you remain steady. If they bring consistency, you observe calmly. Either way, you are not controlled. If this is the man you are becoming, write this in the comments. I stay calm. Don't go anywhere, because the final part shows why. The real goal was never to make her miss you, but to never abandon yourself again. Number 10. Never abandon yourself again. Folks, this is the final lesson, and it is the one that matters most. The goal was never to make her miss you. The goal was never to prove that your silence could hurt more than her distance. The goal was to become the kind of man who never abandons himself again, to keep a woman close. Let's be honest, many men lose themselves slowly. It does not happen in one dramatic moment. It happens every time you ignore your gut because you want her to stay. Every time you accept confusion because the chemistry feels strong. Every time you explain away inconsistency because you remember how sweet she can be when she wants to be. Every time you trade your peace for another chance to be chosen. That is self-abandonment. And it is quieter than most men realize. You abandon yourself when you stop sleeping well because someone else will not communicate clearly. You abandon yourself when you stop seeing friends because your mind is consumed by her mood. You abandon yourself when you lower your standards, then call it patience. You abandon yourself when you keep reaching for a woman who keeps giving you enough hope to keep you from walking away. Stoicism does not teach you to become numb. It teaches you to become responsible for your inner life. A Stoic man feels disappointment, longing, attraction, nostalgia, and grief. But he does not let those feelings become the captain of his decisions. He listens to them, studies them, and then asks the stronger question: what action protects my character? That question changes everything, because when you stop abandoning yourself, you stop outsourcing your peace. You no longer wait for her clarity to feel stable. You no longer interpret distance as proof that you are not enough. You no longer scramble to restore a connection that requires you to betray your nervous system. You begin choosing yourself in small, consistent ways. You go to the gym, even when sadness sits on your chest. You finish your work, even when memories creep in. You clean your home instead of sitting in the mess of old conversations. You call a friend instead of isolating. You eat well. You rest. You rebuild routines. You let your life become bigger than the person who could not meet you with consistency. And my friend, that is what changes your presence. Not a tactic, not a delayed reply, not a dramatic silence. A man who no longer abandons himself walks differently. He speaks with more weight. He does not beg for access. He does not negotiate for respect. He does not need closure from someone who could not offer clarity. If she comes back, he does not collapse into hope. He observes. If she apologizes, he listens, but he watches patterns. If she stays gone, he keeps moving. Not because he never cared, but because he has finally learned that love should not require him to disappear from his own life. This is the freedom the whole video has been pointing toward. Silence is useful. Distance can help. No contact can create space. But none of it matters if you use that space to keep worshipping the wound. The real work is becoming anchored, rooted, self-contained. Clear enough to know what belongs in your life and strong enough to release what does not. Never abandon yourself again. Not for beauty, not for chemistry, not for a memory, not for potential. Your peace is not a bargaining chip. Your dignity is not a payment for love. Your future is not something you hand to someone who cannot choose you with consistency. If this is the man you are becoming, write this in the comments. I choose myself. Folks, today's lesson was simple, but it goes deeper than no contact. Silence can create space, but real power comes when you stop reacting, stop performing growth, stop chasing understanding, and reclaim your own emotional center. You learned that what hurts more than silence is emotional independence. A man who has standards, focus, calm, and self-respect cannot be controlled by mixed signals. He does not abandon himself just to keep someone close. If you want deeper lessons on Stoic discipline, emotional control, mature dating, and masculine self-mastery, consider joining this channel as a member. Your support helps keep these lessons coming and builds a stronger community of men committed to real growth. Also, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you do not miss tomorrow's lesson. Thank you for watching, my friend. Stay grounded, stay disciplined, and I will see you tomorrow.